that. Essentially,
Got places to be. He's consulting our attorney.
we don't have a deputy. Oh, yeah, yeah, we do. Do does have a deputy here to escort people out if needed. Okay. Hopefully that. Hopefully we'll talk about. We'll see. Thank you, ma'am.
Next passes to be in.
Yep. Okay.
And you want me to fill in for Becky doing the pledge?
Yeah, if you. I thought you meant on everything. I was
No,
like,
no, on the pledge.
Not really.
No, not on everything.
Okay. All right. All right, everybody. It's 6:03. We'd like to call to order our regular monthly meeting, January 13th, 2026, of the Spalding County Board of Elections and Voter Registration. Welcome, everybody. See, we have a packed room. If everybody would, please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices, and stand for the invocation and the pledge, please.
All right, let us pray. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for all your goodness, Lord, your grace and mercy. We thank you for those who are in attendance tonight. I pray a special blessing upon them. Thank you for involved citizens. We pray that you'll guide our conversation tonight. May it be honoring to you. We do pray for dignity and respect and civility, Lord. Just give us wisdom to make decisions in the best interests of this community. In Christ's name, amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so next up, I think we're changing order a little bit, probably because of just time. We're going to have the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any amendments to the agenda tonight?
I move we approve the agenda as written.
All right, second. All right, all in favor? All right, we've got our agenda. So public hearing. Let's see if we have. Okay, so we have changed the format just a little bit, which will be explained in my boilerplate language here real quick, and I'll explain further if I need to. Speakers must sign up prior to the meeting and provide their names, addresses, and the topic being discussed, which can only relate to the proposed precinct consolidation. Speakers must direct your remarks to the board and not to individual board members or to the audience. Public disagreements with individual board members or employees are not a matter of public concern, and public attacks, personal attacks, will not be tolerated. The chairman has a right to limit your comments in the interest of disposing of the board's business in an efficient and respectable manner. Speakers who sign up in support of precinct consolidation have a total of 30 minutes, with each individual speaker having a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. Speakers who sign up in opposition to the precinct consolidation will have a total of 30 minutes, with each individual speaker having a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. No questions will be asked by any board members during citizen comments, and outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are always expected during the meeting. So, with that, I guess the order in which I just had was in support is going to be first, since that's just how it was printed. And yeah, I would just entreat everybody. Apologies, I wasn't here last time. I heard I missed out on a really, really good meeting, but I am going to be pretty strict on outbursts. We're trying to get business done up here, and also we desperately try to give the respect that we expect. So please show respect, dignity, and decorum tonight. Otherwise, you will be asked to leave. So first up is Margaret Blue. And also, just a quick note, the clock over there that shows the 3 minutes is over there. I'm just gonna bang the gavel at 3 minutes if you're not done, just so we can move on. We got quite a few speakers, okay? Thank you, Margaret.
My name is Margaret Blue. I live at 620 Windy Hill Road in the city.
Will you just pull it closer?
My name is
Perfect.
Margaret Blue. I live at 620 Windy Hill Road in the city. I am a poll worker, and I'm currently the manager of Precinct 5, which is at UGA campus. Thank you, Chairman Johnson and Director Spalding, for letting me speak on behalf of my support to our director. And I'll basically tell you why. I've been a poll worker and a manager more years than I can remember. And you ask, why are we doing this in 2026? A gubernatorial race, a governor's race, not just Georgia, but every state across the country. It's because it's a very, very crucial election this year. It's going to have high energy, a lot of primaries, and a lot of runoffs. As the manager of one of the city precincts, I just want to let you know, and you are well know what goes on, and to set up those after we have advanced voting. The office staff, and then at least 4 members go to each precinct. Right now we have 17. And then the county inmates set up our equipment, and then they take it down. And then the truck rental. And then also the county deputies, they secure us. So when we come and go from the precinct on election day, we're safe. You know how many times we're probably going to do this year? A lot. I just ask you on behalf of Precinct 5 and those that support this, please listen carefully. Kim does have all the statistics. I don't, but I know there's going to be a combining of many of them. I support her. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Margaret. So we got 30 minutes for each. That would be 10 of each, 3 minutes, right? We got 14 here. What would be the judicious, would be just the first one, first served?
Say is that,
We do have,
and maybe just remind me, just to say when it comes to the oppositions, that the total vote, we're going to.
gotcha, fair enough, that numbers, okay.
So that way.
All right, sorry about that, y'all. Next up is Cindy Phillips.
Good evening, I'm Cindy Phillips. I live at 4463 West Ellis Road in Spalding County. I am a manager at Precinct 9. I was one of the first ones to get merged. I loved it. It was a headache at first, big, yes, but all my clients love it. All my voters, I don't have to worry about steps, their safety, anything. I love it. We're in a better place. So people come out and vote early. They come further out to come vote early than they do to go to their precinct. Which, they can do what they want to, but they do travel further to come vote early. We don't have a whole lot of people to work the precincts. On election day, I was short last year, and it was really rough. I could have used extra help and did not have it. Kim's very understanding and knows exactly what went on. And if you've never been or worked the precincts or seen how it's done, every last one of you need to check it out and see what goes on behind them scenes, because it is not easy. We have a lot to do. We have to get up early, be at our precincts by 5:30, set everything up and be ready to open doors at 7 o'clock. Take everything down. We have to be in, have our stuff in at a certain time for Kim to have everything in. It will save a lot of money, and it will help our precincts, and it will help on a lot of equipment that's being pushed around And when we need extra equipment, if it's tore up, Kim don't have extra, we can't do what we need to for our voters. Then that throws us in a bind. Um, so, like I said, if you've never done it before, you need to come and see how everything is done. If it's early voting or if it's on election, Kim would let you come and watch how we do everything and how everything is processed. But it would be the best thing for us as far as precincts and combining than having them spread out from one end to the other. And when we need something, then they have to find somebody to bring us stuff if something happens. And if they don't have the time or anybody to do it, we have to make the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Next up is Geraldine Mangum.
Good evening. I'm Geraldine Mangum, 114 Ruby Way, Griffin, Georgia. I'm the manager of Precinct 1, Second Baptist Church. And we're in the city. However, we have several other precincts that are also in the city that's not really all that far apart. And it would be more efficient if we had those precincts together, manpower-wise as well as cost-wise. When our equipment comes out, we have to set that equipment up. We have to make sure everything's running properly. It's a lot of work behind it. One of the things that I see also is that there are precincts that are still in fire stations. And when you have a precinct and a fire station, you have to get there by 5 o'clock in the morning, because now you have to set up that morning. You can't set up the day before because the bays will be open and all that kind of thing. So not only that, you're dealing with people that's over 25 years old. And being over 25 years old, that cold is horrible and that heat is horrible. And so those are things that we need to take into consideration. It won't change anybody's vote. It won't change anybody's district. None of that. What it will change is the efficiency. We'll have enough staff for each and every place. And I just encourage you to think the whole thing through before you make a decision. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geraldine. Next up is Jennifer Massengale.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Massengale. I have been with volunteering for 5 years. I have a unique perspective on this because I have been a poll worker, but I've also been a manager at 3 separate precincts. I've worked at 21. I worked at 9 before it was consolidated with 17. I work now at 10. I worked at it when it was at the fire station, and I worked at it now that it's at Oak Hill. I will start by saying that when it was at the fire station, there was no setup the day before. We got there at 4:30 in the morning to set up, and we often stayed till 10, 11 o'clock at night to break down. It's hard on me at 43 years old, and I'm one of the youngest poll workers that's here. You can imagine what it is like for these older people. When we were at the fire station, we dealt with heat, cold. At one point, we had the firemen having to kill wasps that were flying around while people were trying to actively vote. That's not serving the citizens of Spalding County. We moved 2 miles down the road to Oak Hill Baptist. It's climate controlled, it's clean, it's easily accessible, and I've not had one voter say it was better the other way. Before 9 and 17 were consolidated, half of the people who would come in on election day were not for precinct 9, they were for precinct 17. And they would say, well, I live closer to this precinct, to this voting place than I do to the gym. And I'd say, I understand that, but that's not how the lines are. That's not how the districts are drawn. That actually made them upset because they came to the closest polling location and were not able to vote the day of. They had to then drive what they felt was out of their way to get there. That wasn't serving the citizens of Spalding County. I understand that there is a concern with people needing to drive the day of. People drive every day. They have an option to vote by mail. They have an option to vote early. And the same people that are saying we can't drive that day, drive into Griffin or other parts of Spalding County to go to the doctor, to go to the grocery store, to go to Walmart. We're not asking them to drive 30 or 40 miles. We're asking for maybe 5 to 10 extra miles. I think that if we are truly serving the citizens of Spalding County, we will consolidate the precincts to make it easier. And if you have appreciation for the people who are volunteering to serve the citizens of Spalding County, you will do them the service of making that job easier. I have a full-time job. I have to take 2 to 3 days off for every election to work. I choose to do that because I care about Spalding County. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. All right. So next up, we've got folks that signed up in opposition. So we've got 30 minutes set aside for this section. We do have more than 10 speakers. Consulting with legal, I think the fairest way to do it would be we're going to hold it to 30 minutes. If everybody wants to give each other a chance to speak, keeping your comments to less than 3 minutes, even though everybody has their 3 minutes if they want to take them. But if you kind of get up here and make your point and be short and sweet, then everybody should have a chance to talk. If everybody takes their full 3 minutes, then the first 10 speakers are going to be the only people that get a chance to speak. Does that make sense? Okay.
What doesn't make sense is limiting to 30 minutes.
That's what was decided beforehand. So
By who?
by us, by
I
me,
was late, so I didn't get vote.
by me.
By you, thank you.
Yeah. So we needed to pick some sort of time. So that's what we thought was fair. We have limited it to
I've been going to public hearings all my life, and I've never had a time limit on a public hearing before.
fair enough, Lee. All right. First,
I apologize for disagreeing, but I mean, that's just the fact.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a time limit for a public hearing.
fair enough. I think this is public comment. I think we had a public hearing last month.
Well, public hearing, I've never heard of a limit
It does make a difference if you're picking it, sir.
I'm not picking nits. I'm just saying I've never heard of cutting off the citizens from speaking by setting a time limit.
Your point's taken.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. First up, Paul Anger.
Hello. First of all, I want to say I'm fairly new to Georgia. I live in Sun City, Peachtree. My wife Vicki is here, and we love Griffin. So we are very, very happy new citizens here, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I think this cut is too severe. I think we all know that. We really do. It's not good for democracy. It's not good for letting people vote at the time that they want to vote. They can vote early, they can vote absent, they can vote in different ways, but on election day, they need to have a polling place that is convenient to them. This includes the infirm, the elderly, those who lack transportation. You're going to disenfranchise a certain number of people by taking this step. Okay, we have a math problem. I say we because my wife Vicki and I are willing to be poll workers. I think if you look around this room, you will find other volunteers. This is a math problem. It's as simple as that. Well, I've heard the people that are arguing in favor of it, and so I want to retract that statement. Maybe it's not as simple as it sounds, but the first thing we should do is get more poll workers. Look, the number of polling places on election day is very, very important. I will leave it at that. I think we all know who is going to be disenfranchised by this. It's not just going to be one set of people. It's not going to be another set of people. It's going to be everybody. It's going to be much harder to vote on election day. That's not good. Not for good for democracy, not good for Spalding County. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next up, Linda Roth.
Hi, my name is Linda Roddy. It looks like
Oh,
Roth. And I can
okay,
talk, I
I'm
can
sorry.
talk really fast. I attended the last meeting and was interested to hear why the board thought there was a need to reduce the number of polling sites. I understand now the job is huge and cumbersome with different ballots, unreliable polling places, and a dearth of poll workers. I heard also what you said, that your goal is to be sure that everyone has the ability to vote. I respectfully submit this coming year is not the year to institute this radical a change, because I think the goal will be unobtainable. It is going to be a high turnout election. The Pew Research Institute found the elections of 18, 20, and 22 were three of the highest turnout in U.S. elections of the respective types in decades. Georgia, for the last four big elections, has had a higher number turnout, and there is no reason to think that 2026 will be less. Recently, President Trump again talked about voting needing to be in person, something he has wanted for a while. If he succeeds without mail-in ballots, the polls will be inundated. A radical change to the number of polling places could be damaging to the people whom you want to protect their ability to vote. No matter what means you use to communicate polling changes, and we've seen in the past that people get confused and go to the wrong place, there will be a large segment you will not reach because they are too busy trying to feed their families or just put one foot in front of the other and are already inundated with information that constantly bombards them. I'm retired and I can't keep up with all I should. This can deter voters if they show up at a closed poll. Lastly, if you're looking for volunteers to work at a polling place, I miss that communication too. I am sure that if you asked the people who came out tonight if they would work, you would get a large positive response. Again, I ask, please do not vote for this change. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Maybe I can do better with reading writing here moving forward. Apologies about that. Gloria Ann O'Brien.
My name is Gloria Ann O'Brien. I live at 817 Dusky Sap Court in Griffin. Been there for 15 and a half years. I have 2 points I'd like to make. I do not agree with your precinct consolidation proposal, at least not at this time. If you're planning to do this, it should have been front and center in the November 4th, 2025 election. Anyone in the precincts that are closing or who came to vote should have been notified that their polling place was changing in the next election cycle. Putting a sign on the street or putting a notice in the Griffin News is not enough for people who have voted in a place for many years. The idea needs more advanced planning. Why are we not showing a plan to phase this in? Why are we not doing this all in one big swoop? Why are we rushing into it? My second point is that we are all aware of what's going on mid-cycle redistricting to certain political candidates having a chance to win. We know it started in Texas, and we know it is in a form of voter suppression. We all know about the election rules that are being altered or attempting to be altered, like voter IDs, mail-in ballots, ballot return dates, purging of voters. So why are we doing it in a year that's so fraught with voter suppression? Why would we want to call attention to Griffin, Georgia in this way at this time? Why are we looking for a legal challenge which probably costs more than the money we can save? We do have the equipment necessary for voting in these precincts, so why are we changing it now? Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. All right. Next up, Jim O'Brien. All right, Jim, be easy. Good to see you.
I'm Jim O'Brien. I had the privilege of serving with this board for 4 years, and so my perception will be a little different. For the last 6 years, the Spalding County Election Office budget had accommodated 16 voting precincts with great care and expertise. Now the election board wants to consolidate 9 precincts. Consolidate means discontinued. And why? And what has changed? The consolidation of precincts will most likely cause longer voting lines and diminish the number of people voting. It's worth noting that Spalding, Richmond, Glenn counties are also consolidating precincts. What's really behind the consolidation of precincts in 4 counties? Is the consolidation a tactic for suppressing votes? Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Jewel Walker Harps.
My name is Jewel Walker Harbs. I live at 103 McEthel Drive, Griffin, Georgia, and I'm president of the Griffin branch NAACP. And I'm here tonight to say to you, I will never agree to take away any of my comforts and the right to vote. Too hard to get. Had to fight to get them. You got to fight to keep them. Why would I want to give them up? Why? History has taught me once you have, you hold on to. You fight to keep. You lose it, you fight to get it back. And what you're asking me to do tonight or today is to be less comfortable to stand in a long line or to watch my elders stand in a long line. And it's highly possible, more than likely, and if it doesn't happen, it is going to happen sometime when people are going to wake up and realize just how important it is to be at the polling place and vote. And we're going to have some problems. Are we going to get these things back? Absolutely, positively, no. So my answer is, you've got problems, yes. It's your job, fix them. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. All right. Ebony Campillion. You have to help me out with that. I'm sorry. Doing my best.
Hello, my name is Ebony Complin, and I live at 195 Still Road. Like everyone here, I'm using my voice. Regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, it's about integrity. That matters. It's about our community and our voices. All those things matter. At the last meeting, we talked about the concerns about accessibility. We talked about the confusion for the public. We even talked about the trust. And if these precincts are reduced, this will cause people to fear the longer lines, the distance to have to travel, parking spaces, greater strains on our seniors, our people with disabilities, and residents who have to travel and who have no transportation or lack transportation. So I oppose this, and I ask that the board please consider this before you put it into a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. V. Renee Crutches.
Hi, I'm Veronica Crutches. I use the V just for abbreviation. And I'm speaking against this vote today simply because what we have surmised here is that the problem is we don't have enough resources. Resources, be it funding or resources being at people. And I have a problem with that simply because I volunteered to take the training for an election worker. And then I was ready to take the training. I was called and said, no, we're not doing the training. We don't need any more workers. Yes, I have a problem with that. That's what I was told. I have email traffic saying that. So that seems to be one of the major issues here. And so we decide we're going to create large precincts. I have these maps here, what was before and what is now. And when I look at it, where you decided to put those precincts, now it's really going to be hurting other people that's going to have to go that far to actually vote. To actually vote, yes, I have it right here. And then when we look at, someone already said this, the timing. Now, I'm a Grady baby. So you know I'm from Atlanta, I'm from Georgia all my life, although I've lived in and out of Atlanta, out of Georgia. But when I tell you, if you make a lot of people at a poll, I worked in Henry County poll. Oh, by the way, when I was told I wasn't needed in Spalding, I took training and worked somewhere else because that's what I do. I work, and I know there are a lot of people here to work. So when I tell you I was in Henry County one election, people stood in line for 8 hours. 8 hours. We were there. When we got there at 5, 6 in the morning, they were already in line. Let's not do this to Spalding. I see where you see the challenges in Griffin, the city limits, because it's small, you had so many posts, but look at the county. The county is sparsely, it's spread out everywhere. So Spalding is a huge county. Don't vote for us to consolidate these. It's just gonna make it even more cumbersome. Yes, I've heard you say it's best for the workers. Get more workers. But who are we here to serve? The people. Let's serve the people and not just the workers. Let's find a way to help the workers, but let's serve the people. And I'm going to just stop with that. I see the clock is only at 40. Oh, I got 44 more seconds. And I strongly recommend you not vote to consolidate these precincts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, James Moore.
Hi, my name is James Moore. I live at 299 Cortland Road in Brooks, Georgia, Precinct 12. I've spoken to some of my neighbors out there, and they were really not very happy about the idea of having to drive an extra 15 miles from where they vote on Election Day, and they prefer to vote on Election Day, which is their right. My concern, and I would encourage you to vote, the board to vote no on this consolidation, is that that of perception. You know, I heard some of the conversations. I was able to be a poll watcher at Precinct 12 on the last election, and I heard a number of people comment that they loved voting in Spalding County because they thought it was very efficient and they felt that they had confidence in the system and that they could trust that their vote was being respected and counted accurately and fairly because they had a chance to vote right there in their own neighborhood. So our goal, I believe, should be to serve the voters. With all due respect to some of the people who voiced their opinions tonight in support of this proposal, yeah, your job is hard, and thank you very much for your hard work. And I thank the board for making it easy, or making it easier for them and thinking about their well-being. But as others have stated, let's find a way to elevate this. You know, those are long shifts. Maybe we could look at making 6-hour shifts instead of 12-hour shifts. That might allow you to have more workers on a volunteer basis. You wouldn't have to pay them. Think about that. So anyway, I would like to say, please vote no on this proposal.
Thank you, James. Deborah Hibben.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Hibben. I live at 106 Magic Lily Drive here in Griffin. I've been a resident there for, it'll be 2 years in March. I have served as a poll worker in Spalding County at the 2024 presidential election. Before that in Henry and Clayton County. So I have a good bit of experience working at the polls. And I am one of those older people now who find it physically demanding, too demanding to continue to volunteer. And all that was my point number one, but I'm going to move on to point number two in the interest of time and talk with you just for a minute about being a voice for the disenfranchised and marginalized voters among us. I am a retired high school educator, was a social studies teacher for years, have been an administrator in charge of curriculum and instruction with high school students, and have proudly supported, initiated, etc., many registered to vote drives in our high schools. And as an adult, we tell our young people this is something that really matters. We really want you to be involved, etc. I am involved, and I am very interested in the political process in this county and in this country. And I want to represent a different group right now. My daughter is 30 years old. She lives with me. She has Down syndrome. She has voted in every election since she turned 18, with the exception of this PSC election we just had. And I cannot remember why the girl didn't vote then, but she's voted in every other election. She represents a population, a segment of our population who cannot always speak for themselves. Some of you may know that the people with disabilities, adults with disabilities, makes up the largest minority group in America. About 20% of our citizens have some sort of disability. They may be cognitive, they may be physical, they may be mental health, etc. And despite their large numbers, people with disabilities are often underrepresented in media, leadership, and political power, leading to their invisibility in many discussions. Disability is unique in that anyone can become a member of this group at any point in their lives, at birth, as a result of illness or injury, or just plain old age. Access is everything, as previous speakers have said, especially for the disenfranchised and the marginalized. To reduce the number of voting precincts would place an undue hardship on these special voters, not all of whom have the resources to get to the polling places, as my personal child does. It will squelch their lifelong ambitions of being included and valued in all aspects of American life. And so for them, I speak tonight, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Dr. Yashunda Jones.
Dr. Yashonda Jones, I don't give my address for safety reasons. I just wanted to speak briefly about the consolidation of polling locations and me being in opposition. When polling locations are consolidated, voting becomes harder. People have to travel farther, wait longer, and navigate unfamiliar places just to exercise a fundamental right. For many voters, especially seniors, people with disabilities, working families, and those without reliable transportation, these added obstacles are enough to prevent them from voting at all. Fewer polling locations also mean longer lines and overcrowding. We've all seen how long waits discourage participation. No one should have to choose between voting, getting back to work, caring for a loved one, or protecting their health. Consolidation also creates confusion. When polling places change, voters show up at the wrong locations, receive unclear information, or simply give up. Confusion leads to lower voter turnout and damages confidence in the election process. Even when consolidation is presented as a cost-saving measure, the impact can function as voter suppression. Whether intentional or not, the result is unequal access to the ballot, and that undermines the fairness of our elections. Democracy works best when voting is simple, local, and accessible. Cutting polling locations saves little, but costs us participation, trust, and equity. If we care about fair elections, we should be expanding access, not limiting it. What seems like a small inconvenience to some can be a deal breaker for others. Impact matters more than so-called good intentions, and democracy is not the place to cut corners. Also want to address how difficult it was even navigating the website to find the consolidated maps. A lot of people have said that website is not user-friendly, and I can attest to that myself. I'm also very concerned when we're talking about transparency and integrity on behalf of this body. I'm not comfortable with a lot of decision-making that happens I don't feel like a lot of times we have leadership that serves in the best interest of its citizens, especially when we have members that miss a half a year of meetings. And I also think that should be addressed as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Next up, Patricia Parks.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Patricia Parks. I live at 1019 Durr Drive, Griffin, Georgia. I moved from Miami, Florida, October 2024. I've lived in Georgia for about a year and 3 months, and I love it here. I'd like to speak about 2 points tonight. Getting the word out and transportation to the proposed new polling places. It was mentioned that TV announcements would be used to notify residents of the proposed new voting location. Everyone does not listen to the local news all day and may miss hearing the announcements when they are aired. Another platform was mentioned was social media. Again, everyone does not participate in social media. Perhaps there's no coverage in their area, or maybe they can't afford it, or maybe they don't want to pay for Wi-Fi. Transportation. When these proposed polling places are shut down, many residents may not be able to get to the nearest polling place across town because maybe they have small kids to pick up after school. And by the time they get home, it may be too late to get to the nearest polling place across town. And you also have individuals with disabilities. They rely on ride services in their local area. So let's see. The new polling places may not include these new areas, and this will cause them not to be able to vote. For others, hopping on a bus across town is not safe or is just not possible. I'm asking the commissioners to please reconsider closing the proposed voting places. This is another form of voter suppression and interference with democracy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, last up is Kathleen O'Halloran. How bad did I mess that up?
Hi, my name is Kathleen O'Halloran. I live at 540 Beautyberry Drive in Griffin. So I'm a northerner. I've been down here in Griffin for about 4 years now. And up north, we hear a lot about the New South. And I just want to say that this proposal to shrink the number of voting sites by almost in half smacks of nothing else but voter suppression and really reminds me of the Old South.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, that wraps up public comment. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Excuse me, y'all. Okay, so next up is approval of minutes for the December 9th regular monthly meeting. If the board members would flip to your section in the binder for our minutes.
Make a motion we approve as presented.
Second, motion, Chris, second, Lee. All in favor? All right. 5-0, our minutes are approved. Kim, you're up next with the regular monthly election director's report.
Okay, thank you. So just to cover a few things for the regular monthly report before we move into the presentation. Voter registration coordinator Sandra Hardy will present the voter registration report. Good evening, board members. I'd like to share with you our activity in voter registration since our last meeting on December 10th, and this goes through this past Monday, January the 11th. In this time period, we have had 1,671 applications on the dashboard on the Department of Driver Services tile. Online voter registration had 12 applications. My voter page had 10. We processed 63 vital records and 37 felony records. We had 134 walk-in or mail-in applications and 2 requests to cancel voter registration. So in summary, we had 223 new voters to Spalding County, 421 transfers into Spalding County, 254 within county address changes, 57 name changes, 876 no change. That's when a voter will update their driver's license but nothing has changed. And then 236 that have moved out of our county. We are still chipping away at our physical card audit and we're at 81% completion. Also, we've had 8 counties in Georgia that are still in elections. They're doing a special election on January the 20th. Therefore, we're not able to process any records that we get from those counties. We expect that they will certify their election on the 26th of January, and then we'll begin to process anything coming to us from those counties. The Secretary of State has added a new tile to their dashboard. It's called Records for Review. There are 6 different categories. I've got those listed on your report. Kelly and I have started on this. It's kind of tedious. You got to do a little research, but we're working on that for you. Our last report in December, we had 53,081 voters. We have added 644 new voters to Spalding County. By new, I mean brand new and transferred into. We have 5 pending voters at this time, so that makes a total of 53,730. And then 301 that have moved out of the county or been canceled for other reasons. And that brings our total to 53,429. Any questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. And I just want to publicly thank voter registration coordinator Sandra Hardy, along with Kelly, of course, all of our staff, but they work very diligently to keep the dashboard up to date. And it is, it's very time consuming. And so I just appreciate their efforts in all that they do to maintain our voter registration list in Spalding County. So qualifying will begin for the May election. May 19th election will be the general primary election date. And qualifying for that will be the week of March 2nd. We'll begin that morning at 9 a.m. and end at 12 noon that Friday on March the 6th. Local seats that are up for election this year and also that I'm responsible for qualifying are County Commission Districts 2 and 5, the State Solicitor General, and Board of Education seats, Districts 1, 3, and 5.
The Board of Commissioners have set the qualifying fees for those seats. For County Commission, that is $695.96. For State Solicitor General is $4,587.50. And Board of Education Districts, the qualifying fee is $289.19. Of course, if you're not familiar, those qualifying fees are set based on their salary, a percentage of their salary as the law states. So I just want to clarify something from the last meeting that I heard, because when misinformation is shared, sometimes it becomes information that is believed to be true. So I did want to and just speak publicly that this Board of Elections and Voter Registration has not requested a pay raise, and neither was the Board of Elections and Voter Registration's pay increased in the 2026 fiscal year, or ever since I've been here.
I had heard that rumor too, and I was
Yeah.
very disappointed when I got my.
I think there may be some confusion among boards, but that is not our board, and I want the truth to be known, and that is the truth. And you know that as well because you see your direct deposit. But remodeling of newly acquired space, just some new news there. County Manager Dr. Steve Ledbetter reported at Monday morning's department head meeting that the renovation plan is moving forward, with the bidding process beginning soon and renovations to be completed prior to the May general primary election, I would like to extend gratitude publicly to the Board of Commissioners, County Manager Steve Ledbetter, and Assistant County Manager Erica Dye for their continued support in approving the voter registration election facility, so that the Board of Elections and Voter Registration may continue to deliver exceptional services to the voters of Spalding County, while creating a working environment more conducive to the processes and procedures of our department. With that, I'm now going to proceed to the precinct consolidation proposal presentation.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Kim, before you move to precinct consolidation, has the date for the special election for the district attorney's office been set, or would that be a part of the election in May?
I have not heard any news that there will even be a special election for the district attorney seat. My understanding, that's appointed right now, but we have not been notified that there's going to be any special election for the district attorney seat.
Has anybody been appointed?
My understanding is that I believe it was the assistant assistant district attorney, David Stutter, who is now operating in the place of the chief.
And so I think it may be prudent, Mr. Chairman, that our legal counsel provides us with a memo to that effect, because my understanding is that under the law, that position cannot be filled simply by appointment, especially when they got a term longer than a certain time, because we had a special election back in 2021 when Judge Coker went up to the Superior Court. And I don't think, under the law, I think we are required to have a special election. And so in prudence, I just think we need to find out, because that may be another cost associated, and it also could be issue of pending litigation, because I'm not certain that the law, unless it's changed since 2021, allows the governor to simply appoint the DA without a special election.
Okay, yeah, my memory of some of that was that it was for a specific period of time, so I see him writing, and
We'll present, or we'll have something for your consideration to that probably this week. Just generally speaking, there is, to the board member's point, there is a time period that's triggered when there's so much left on the term, given that there are 3 years, I believe, roughly left on the term for Ms. Broder, whenever she resigned. Whenever a DA is actually appointed, which one has not been appointed yet, Mr. Stutter is running the office, but he is, for lack of a better term, the interim. I can't remember the exact term right now, but he has not been appointed by the governor. Once that appointment is actually made, which I don't know if the governor has even called for application
qualifications yet for the appointment. Once the appointment is made and signed off on, that person is sworn in, then the clock begins ticking. And if I remember correctly, I want to say that it's 6 months, but don't hold me to that. I need to do a little digging to get the exact date, but I believe that it's within 180 days if there's more than 2 years left on the term that a special election has to be held. So.
And so it could be that if we're proactive, we can get the governor's office to act now so that we could absorb the cost of a special election in the May election, as opposed to having an election in May, and then the governor appoints the district attorney and it's triggered, and now we got the cost of another special election, that we now have to find the funds to cover the cost of that special election.
Fair point. I guess let's just get verification on how the law actually is written, and then we can tackle the task of attempting to advise the governor on his appointment process. But we will try that if it looks like it's feasible or if it's necessary.
It's our money, so.
Yep, understood. Thank you, Dexter.
Okay, we're good?
Was that it? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yep, thanks for bringing that up. Kim?
Okay, moving forward with the precinct consolidation proposal, I would just like to say before I go into this, and I really tried to shorten this as much as I could, but it's very important information that I'm sharing with you. First and foremost, I want it to be publicly known. The Board of Elections and Voter Registration has not submitted or suggested to me in any form or fashion a precinct consolidation. When I took the position of elections then supervisor, now director for Spalding County, it's my duty to look at our county and do what I think is best in the voters' interest. Yes, I do have to look as well as our office and operational procedures, but I just want to be very clear on that. No one has contacted me about lines or anything of that nature. This is just through my research what I believe would be best for Spalding County voters. So with that said.
Hey, Kim, make sure you stay close to the mic and speak loud if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, just a number I want to share with you, 23,312. So just keep that little number in mind, and I'm going to share something with you about it later. Keep you curious. Precinct consolidation. Why? Precinct consolidation, streamline election day processes and procedures. What does streamline mean? To put in order, organized. Are we organized now? Yes, we are. Can we organized better? Yes, we can. Pool resources, poll officers, poll officer knowledge, equipment. Staffing poll officers, challenges of. I hire anywhere from 80 to 120 poll officers to operate each and every election. Why is there a difference in that? There are smaller elections where you don't need as many, and there are larger elections, where you need more. If any of you have ever been part of a business or part of a hiring process, it's a challenge to hire 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 employees for your office, people you can depend on to do a good job and to be there consistently. Now, I want to say first and foremost, I'm very grateful for every poll officer, and they probably get tired of me saying this, but I tell them every time, I'm very grateful for every poll officer who contributes their time, although they are paid, to the election process. I remind them that they are an extension of our office. So, but do challenges come with staffing 80 to 120 poll officers? Sure it does. Pooling poll officer knowledge. We all know that knowledge is built through education, time, and experience. Every poll officer, at least 3 times a year, goes through a training process that lasts anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. And I had my book, but the code book, and you all have seen it, is pretty thick. Poll officers are not responsible for knowing every one of the election codes, but they are responsible, and I'm responsible for teaching them a significant amount of the election code for them to carry out in a 12-hour day, and also during advanced voting for 17 days. So knowledge is built through education, time, and experience. It takes time. It's easy to say, just hire 240 poll officers. But guess what? We are in a time where the average of our poll officers' age is 65 to 85 years old. That's the average. What happens between 65 and 85? People are at a time in their life they want to slow down a little bit. Yes, they want to serve, they want to volunteer, serve their community, and we're very grateful for it. But they also want to travel, go places, do things. So just want to share that there are challenges that come with staffing. Just because this poll officer was available 2 elections out of the year doesn't mean they were available all 4 of them. They want to travel, or either a sickness could come up or a family emergency, and there are many other reasons. I want to just pause also to share that 2025 was a very challenging year. I actually thought at the beginning, whoo, this is going to be smaller elections, not quite as many poll officers needed. It'll be easy to staff. But guess what? Everybody wanted to travel in 2025, and it did, and you don't see that coming, and that posed challenges. Pooling equipment resources. You know as a board that we have poll pads, ballot marking devices, scanners, and printers. So what do I mean by pooling those equipment resources? On average, I deploy out 2 poll pads per precinct, 17 precincts. And that is because I keep a few extra on hand. When issues come up, I can deploy something else. Same with BMDs and the scanners. What happens when we consolidate? You're consolidating. Now you have 4 poll pads at a precinct. So when one poll pad has went down, instead of 1 poll pad, you have 3 left. Instead of 1 scanner, we're able to send a backup scanner, or even have the scanner already there. What does this do? This helps us to avoid emergency backup procedures. What does that do? That increases voter integrity, or election integrity, excuse me. It also increases or decreases, poll officers' stress. And it also helps the voters to move in a more efficient manner or timely manner. So just some other reasons: improving voting locations, improve access to the voting facilities for all voters. Yes, we have some awesome polling locations right now. Do we have some that we need to move from? We sure do. And do we have some that need improvements? That as well. Lessen scheduling conflicts. Several of the precincts that we go in, all of them in fact, they have a schedule. They have other events. And so there have been many times when I've been notified, hey, we've got an event that's scheduled here. Sorry, we missed it, so we got to move you to this part of the facility rather than this room that you are in. Is that fair to voters? I don't believe so. And when I say rooms, it may be across the parking lot to a different place, and that is not in line with our polling location requirements. Consolidate organization of supplies for election day precincts. I just put this in here. I'm not going to read it all to you, but this is just a glimpse of what we touch to ready for a precinct. As you can see, poll manager binders, precinct supply boxes, precinct signage, and a manager's tote. And those are your totals out there to the side, showing you how many pieces of paper, how many forms we touch to ready these precincts. Now I want to go to the maps, because that's the important thing, right? Our voters. So these are the existing lines of the city precincts. And if you'll look with me right here where the arrow is, this is precinct 5. These lines have been drawn this way for a very long time. If you see the green, that is precinct 5 currently. Look at all of these voters on this side. They're traveling through precinct 1 all the way up here to UGA. They're passing a polling location on their way to their polling location. They're passing one to get to the other. It does not make sense. And then right here, let's move over to Precinct 2, Fairmont. Fairmont Community Center. I know it's been with us for a very long time. I'll tell you my experience. I spot check on election day. My experience when I walked in last year was, especially in June, you have your summer camps and you have a lot that's going on. It's not just voting. So you walk in, there's a lot of activity right there at the front. That in itself provides confusion to a voter, where do I go, even though there's signage. There's also noise. So yes, you turn and you go down to a hall and you enter a room, but guess what's going on the outside? That door's not closed. You can't close the door to the polling location. So there's a lot of activity there. I also want to pause to say thank you to Leisure Services, who works tirelessly with us in ensuring that we're able to access the precinct. But this is our biggest challenge with Precinct 2. So this is the side here. You see Precinct 3 also within this proposal. This is Senior Citizen Center. I have proposed to you and am proposing again that the Senior Citizen Center precinct is moved to our advanced voting location. It makes more sense. Last year in November, one of the poll officers there took count of how many voters came in to the Senior Citizen Center, thinking that was their polling location. And I believe it was 225. It could have been more, but I know it was at least that. That was 225 people. If we move it to our location, still poll workers will be managing that. Not us, but the poll workers would be managing that. But we could intercept those voters and ensure that they get to the right place without interrupting the voting process there at Precinct 3. So we're talking about combining 2, 3, and 7. First United Methodist Church, just wanted to share that they've been with us a long time too. As you know, their rental went up a significant amount. Let's just take the money out of it. So twice last year, scheduling conflicts. There was something else scheduled. We had to move to a different room across the parking lot. Okay? That's not fair to our voters. Okay, so this is really important here. This you're looking at in the distance. We did the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, the furthest someone would have to travel. And as you can see up here at Oakview Drive, to go down, because this is the proposed map that you're looking at now, they would go to Second Baptist Church, Precinct 1. This is proposed. So from Oakview Drive to Second Baptist Church, 2.9 miles, 7 minutes. Over here at Cheshire Drive, 4.3 miles, 8 minutes. Down here, Mary Avenue, 3.7 miles, 9 minutes to Second Baptist Church. Kell Lane, 2.8 miles, Second Baptist Church, 7 minutes. Let's jump over here to what would be Precinct 2 if the proposal were to pass. Armstead Circle, 3.4 miles, 9 minutes. Down here to Middlebrooks Road to 825 Memorial Drive would be 3.8 miles, 9 minutes. 9 minutes is the maximum in the city of Griffin that anyone would travel to their precinct. And I believe that is outstanding. So this is just what I just talked to you about, so I'm not going to linger there. But now we're going to look at the county. So I want to talk to you, any questions on excuse me.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
You talked about that ideally the Senior Citizen Center would move to the voter registrations office currently. So why didn't you put put that in your proposal to make the voter registration office the precinct for.
It's been in my proposal since the last meeting, but the maps that are generated through GIS have the names of the precincts as they are now. So that's why you don't see the elections and voter registration office. That's through GIS and the way the maps look. But I proposed that last month to you all.
Okay, so it would be in the elections office then, instead of the senior citizen center.
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's go back through here. So now we're at the county. So if you'll follow with me in the north part of the county, this is current, 13 and 14. 13 and 14. Let's talk about 13. That's County Line Methodist Church. County Line Methodist Church has a road that divides the parking lots. Yes, is there parking space right there at the facility? There is. But it's also across the road. To me, that's a hazard. And it does not place our voters in the best possible position that it should. Also with County Line Road, there are some issues. It's an older facility. There are some issues sometimes with the pole pads there. Also, the security-wise, I believe we need to put our poll officers in the best secure situation possible. And so when you enter this precinct, you're going down a hall, another hall, and then into the room. And so that's just something I would like to improve for them. So we're going to move right here to precinct 16. That is Faith Baptist Church. So this was the little chimney that I was trying to describe to you last election. And you'll see that in a minute. But proposal is to consolidate that chimney right there into 14. They have the same exact ballot style in that area as 14 has. They're closer to 14. Makes sense. This area over here that you see, this little pink, proposing to place it into 21. Same ballot style in that area right there. Makes sense. Okay, and then coming down and splitting 16. I'll show you just in a minute. The left side into first to 19, First Assembly. The right side into Precinct 9. The people over here, especially to the left side of 16, are going to be much closer to First Assembly than they will be over here where they're located, their voting location is at this time. Let's talk about this one. This is a big one right here, okay? This is Precinct 12. I want to remind you, and I'm sorry, I'm having to work with this little cursor. It's challenging. But I want to remind you, you see where we are right now? We're all the way almost to the county line. And I'm sure those out there love that in that community. But guess where they used to be? Right in here. Liberty Springs Church. After I was here for a couple elections, Liberty Springs Church reached out to me and said we can't do it anymore. So I had to make a decision. So I went looking, and believe me, I looked and looked and looked. That was the only facility out there that I could find that would that was willing to be a polling location. So all of these people, we talk about, if we consolidate that these people here, these voters have to go all the way into here. Well, guess what? These voters, when the precinct changed, had to travel all the way out here. How many complaints did I receive? None. Not one. Okay, so we know that part of 8 we want to put into 10. Why is that? We put it down the middle because the left side of 8 has the same ballot style that's in 10. The right side of 8 has the same ballot style that's in 11. Makes sense. And then 11 and 20. Let's talk about 20. That's Roberts Fire Station. Roberts Fire Station is my last fire station. You don't know how many poll officers I've had to come to me. Please get us out of the fire stations. Okay? Now, again, to pause. I appreciate Mike Bird and Glenn Polk. They are awesome. They have been so great to us. But it is a fire station. In the winter, it's cold. In the summer, it's hot. There are voter privacy challenges there, setting up the equipment. There are issues with equipment security. It's not like I would like for it to be. It's the best we can do. We need to get out of the fire station, period. So 20 to 11, merging 20 to 11 with a little partial of 8, is that proposal there. 9 would stay the same. 21's not being touched other than putting that little bitty part over there with it. So, again, let's look at the distances in the county. So we took worst case scenario. Please remember that. David Elder Road, 7.8 miles, 12 minutes to Sunnyside Methodist Church. Let's move here. Bleachery Street. This is what was a part of 16. 2.3 miles, 7 minutes. Down here, Line Creek Road, that was the furthest out, 14.1 miles to Oak Hill Baptist Church. I want to remind you that all of these people out here or that address traveled 9.3 miles before. Never a complaint. Now, you see a little yellow line right there? Jacqueline Drive, 7.6 miles to Fairview, 5.1 miles over here to Oak Hill. So, you have to look at all voters. Do you look at the very one voter that's the furthest away, or do you look at the whole picture? That's for you, the board, to decide. Okay. Let's move right over here. 21's unchanged. East Northwood Drive, 6.2 miles, 11 minutes. And down here, Fox Road, 8.2 miles, 15 minutes. What is our longest distance to a polling location on Election Day? 19 minutes. If you're familiar with the size of Spalding County, that is outstanding. Okay, so this is the information I just went over with you, so I'm not going to read it to you again. I just wanted you to have it. But now what I want to share with you are heat maps. What do I mean by that? This data is based on the November 2024 election. This is representative of absentee ballots by mail cast in Spalding County in the November 2024 election. This is in the city of Griffin, absentee ballots by mail. Early voting. What I want to point out to you here, this is early voting. This represents, remember that number I said? 23,312. This represents 23,312 ballots that were cast during early voting in the November 2024 election. Shouldn't we look at worst case scenarios? This is the worst case scenario. And if you would look, I want you to see how far people came from. All around Spalding County to 825 Memorial Drive. Early voting ballots in the city of Griffin. Election Day, a little bit different there. And then Election Day in the city of Griffin. So, here's your summary right here. You can see for yourself and see the data. Your Election Day percentage turnout. Your advanced voting turnout. Significant difference. I want to summarize it for you. Voter turnout for the November 2024 election was 33,288 ballots were cast. Of those, Election Day voter turnout, 7,967, 17%. Advanced voting voter turnout, 3,312, 49.69%. Absentee by mail voter turnout, 1,992 at 4.25%. And provisional ballots, 8 at 0.2%. So, what was our total percentage turnout among our voters was 70.98. So, of that 70.98, 49.69 of that percentage voters voted advance voting.
And this was the presidential election, right?
That is correct. Yeah. Okay, so I want to address public concerns. And so what I did was I really listened at the last meeting and took notes. What did I hear? That's what we should do. You should do it as the board. I should do it. It's the right thing to do. And the first one I heard was voter suppression. That's what I heard the most of. What is it? What is voter suppression? We can use, have you ever just used terms a lot? You just use a term and it just becomes natural. Not saying it's not a real thing. It's definitely a real thing. But it does not exist in our county. And as long as I'm elections director, there will not be voter suppression. But voter suppression is the discouragement or prevention of specific groups of people from voting or registering to vote. Voter suppression attempts to gain an advantage by reducing the turnout of certain voters. Suppression is an anti-democratic tactic associated. I would just appreciate, and I'm going to speak to the board, I listen to each and every person that comes up here to speak without saying a word, no matter whether I agree or disagree. And I would appreciate that same respect. Suppression is an
And you'll get it again.
Suppression is an anti-democratic tactic associated with authoritarianism. Oh, sorry, I went the wrong way. So I want to address voter suppression accusation. By consolidating voting locations, streamlining election day processes and procedures, and improving services at all polling locations, we are encouraging voters that we are working hard to provide each voter the best service possible while providing efficient service to all. Choosing polling locations with easier accessibility into the building. Choosing polling locations that do not have facility or scheduling issues. Choosing polling locations with less interruptions, summer camps, other scheduled events. Selecting polling locations with environmental control, talking about the hot and cold. What are the various ways a voter can vote? 78 days a voter with no reason at all can request an absentee ballot by mail. 17 days of advanced early voting. Sometimes 16, that holiday falls in there. Sometimes we have no control over that. But 17 days of advanced voting and one 12-hour election day. Okay. I also heard if it's not broke, don't fix it. It is the responsibility for a board or staff of any department to review operational procedures and assess what has happened, what can happen, and how to improve to avoid unwanted circumstances. So, to you, the board, this evening, have we been close to being broke at certain points in times because of certain issues? We have. But we are a committed team, and we have prevented that from happening. And I would not bring to you, the board, tonight what I'm bringing to you if I didn't know some things needed to take place so we don't break. Moving the voting location for Precinct 12, this was a concern shared, would make it harder on the elderly and handicapped. As I respect this concern that was submitted to me via email, the action of moving the voting location to Precinct 10 would increase the ease of accessibility to this precinct's voting location. So, factual information for you to consider, board. 70% of the public comments made at the December meeting were made by voters who reside within a precinct which is not being affected by this proposal. One concern was received via email about 12, which is shared above. There have not been any phone calls received by our office, not one, in opposition of the precinct consolidation proposal. I want to share some history with you. Precincts 9 and 17 were consolidated approximately 2 years ago. It could have been 1.5. You lose track. And there were not any complaints received by voters, and this affected thousands of voters. Precinct 10, formerly Carver Road Fire Station, was moved to Oak Hill Baptist Church. There were no complaints received by voters. Precinct 16, formerly Gary Reed Fire Station, was moved to Faith Baptist Church due to a fire. We had no control over that, and there was not one complaint. There was one complaint received from a voter. Precinct 12, formerly Liberty Springs Church, was moved. The church decided to cease being a polling location to Fairview Baptist Church, and there were no complaints received from voters. This increased the distance for hundreds of voters to an election day precinct. Why do larger precincts serve the public best? You're streamlining. We talked about that. Pooling resources. allows offering the best of the best polling locations for Spalding County voters, which as a board and elections director, we are obligated to do. The advanced voting location is proof it works. So some data to share with you. The average daily voters processed during advanced voting in the November 2024 election, 1,457 over 16 days. That was our average daily. Average voters on election day, spread across 17 precincts, was 469. If we can do 1,457 in one day, with polling resources, we can certainly do 469. Only praise was received during the November 2024 president election from voters experienced during advanced voting. Why? Because it was efficient and it ran like clockwork. No one had to wait. The exception was the very first day in the morning if they lined up way before we opened, and the last day. But there was hardly ever any wait time in a presidential year. Larger, well-staffed, and better equipped polling locations build confidence among poll officers through providing more knowledge in one location and having a larger amount of poll officers to lean on one another for breaks, lunch times, and challenges that come with election day processes and procedures. You know, I've heard the shift term before. Hey, why don't you do shifts? Well, guess what? Instead of 80 to 120, now we got to have 160 to 240 poll officers. Conclusion. My service as elections supervisor, now director for Spalding County, for 5.5 years has reflected unity, integrity, and a desire to serve the voters of Spalding County to the utmost of my ability. We should only allow facts to guide us in making the best decisions for those we serve. I respect the board's decision, whatever it may be, and along with staff, will continue to deliver services that meet the needs to the best of our ability for all voters of Spalding County. With that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kim. Do any board members
Any
have questions?
I just have a question, just out of curiosity. And I know you've got all these statistics somewhere in your magic office. And I'm sorry for being sarcastic. But we know that voter turnout is going to be a lot greater in a presidential year than an off year. This is an off year. Can you compare all these statistics you have here for the presidential election, take them from the off year and compare them to the current, to the 24?
Well, this is 2026, and this isn't.
Well, what I mean, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
No, do you mean 2025? I mean, I just clarify
This will be
for
an
me.
off-year election. 2026 is an off-year election. We are not electing president.
No, we're not, but we're electing a governor. So I'm just letting you know that's just
I know
common.
we elected a governor in 2022. And that's what I said, can we compare the figures from 2022 to 2026 instead of 24 to 26?
Well,
Because the turnout is going to be higher in the presidential year than it is in an off year when you elect a governor.
Okay, so you want to know if we can compare the data to 2022?
I'm just wondering if the figures would be the same, the percentage would be the same.
Sorry, y'all. Could y'all please keep it quiet? Thank you.
Now, I'm just wondering if the percentages would be the same in terms of number of absentee voting and early voting and pre-poll precincts voting for one off-year election to the next off-year election, rather than from an off-year election to the presidential election.
So you would be talking about, and I'm just asking for clarity because I want to answer you correctly. So you're speaking of a year like 2025. That to us is what sometimes we term.
Of 2022 and 2026.
Well, I can tell you this: 2026 is a gubernatorial year. 2022 did not have the turnout that 2024 last year did.
That's what I'm asking.
Well,
We're not going to have the turnout in 2026 that we had in 2024, probably.
yeah, but it will be high, much higher than like 2025 and 2023. I mean, I don't.
So
if there's a better way for me to answer that, let me know.
I'm trying to get the root of the question too. So are you saying that the?
I'm saying that y'all compare apples of apples. Compare the off year in 2022 with the off year 2026, rather than comparing the presidential election in 24 with 26.
But the reason for that, Mr. Howell, to compare to 2024 was because it was the the largest, and it's the worst case scenario. And that's what I thought we should look at when we are talking about taking care of our voters. So that's why there wasn't a reason, there wasn't a magic of just selecting 2024. It just made sense because we should look at the most, what we've had. What is the highest we've had recently? What could happen? So that's why 2024 was selected.
So I'm not sure that there was like a comparison there. It was just, this was the most we've had, worst case scenario. Let's stress test these assumptions. I believe that's where she was going.
And my only concern is that 2026 is not gonna be that bad as 2024 was. Because it's gonna be an off year when we let the governor not approve.
Right. But, agreed. I think everybody here would think the same thing.
That's a good thing.
Which is a good thing, and that would support consolidation.
All
All right, Dexter?
So I want to.
Mr. Chairman, could you please bring
Yep.
the room under control?
Yep. All right, so first warning, gonna have a second warning. After that, gonna clear the room, y'all, okay? So don't want to have to do it. Not an awful person, despite what some people probably think, but we're having a conversation here. We're trying to get through this and get through this vote so everybody can go home. And me clearing the room would definitely get in the way of that. So if everybody could, thank you. Dexter.
So I want to ask a stupid question. And now when I ask the question, I'm really asking out of ignorance. It's not related to the vote tonight. It's related to something larger. And that is, why are we not exploring the notion of eliminating precincts altogether and have one centralized location? If we're arguing that advanced voting is working and that there's so much turnout doing advanced voting, why not put on the table the notion of consolidating the entire election department as it relates to poll workers and put them all in one place, and everybody votes during that time period, and even ask the question about legislators of expanding advanced voting from 14 days to 30 days. And that way people got a whole 30 days to go to the central office to cast a ballot. All of our staff is there. All of our equipment is there. People got 30 days. You can go 30 days to go vote. It just seems like if we're really talking about not having voter suppression, why not move to a place where we're expanding the ability to vote as opposed to trying, because I think what we fail to realize is that we wouldn't be having this conversation in 2012. Because in 2012, Shelby versus Holder was still in place. And anytime we would be able to, before we could even change precincts, we'd have to submit it to the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice had 60 days to determine whether or not they would approve it or they wouldn't. And so if I go along with this, what I believe was a fallacy, that racism no longer exists and we don't need Section 5. If I then say, you know what, I'm going to embrace the notion that America has grown to a point where racism no longer exists and there is no reason to have these restrictions in place because we all have a right to cast our ballot. So why not just bring everything in-house, put it in one place, put all our best people there, open up democracy for America, as opposed to these ridiculous arguments about, I mean, honestly, if I decide I want to go to a restaurant on the northernest or southernest part of Spalding County, if I get up that day and I decide I want a steak from that restaurant, then I get up and I go get that steak. And so many people have died and given their, given liberty and blood for this notion of being in a country where we can vote. Half of us don't even vote. So why are we concerned about these people who choose not to vote? Let's just make it easier for those people who want to participate in democracy. Let's consolidate it, let's expand it, and let people vote.
So Dexter, what you're saying though, that's obviously not on the table tonight.
It's not on the table
and not even,
tonight.
and not
It-
even,
it-
and
it's-
not even legal at this point for us to do that, right?
But see, that's my point. That at some point in time, we have to start thinking about democracy and not thinking about how to maintain control between partisan factions, because this is really what this is about. The reason we've got so much opposition is people are scared because there used to be Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act that said before you made these changes, you had to get approval. That's no longer there. And so that's why you have this room packed. Not tonight, but even at the last meeting, because there is a fear. And Kim, when you say there is no voter suppression,
In Spalding County.
in Spalding County, I think what you mean, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, what you mean to say is your office works not to have voter suppression. I think
Yes, I can't speak for anyone else
Exactly,
other than Spalding
but I
elections
just
and
wanna-
voter
I wanna-
registration
I wanna
processes
make
and
clear
procedures.
because it was after you made that comment that the discussions in the auditorium began, and I think what you meant to say was that you go above and beyond to prevent voter suppression from happening in Spalding County, and I would agree with that. But we can't believe that any policy change may have an impact on voters' ability. And so it's not a personal thing. It's not personal. I don't think anybody is saying that Kim is trying to suppress the vote in Spalding County. I don't think that's what people are saying. But I think what people are saying is, wait a minute, historically speaking, if you're talking about changing one precinct, maybe two precincts at one time, I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. But when you start talking about eliminating all of those precincts at one time, 8 precincts at one time, that makes people feel real uncomfortable. And they got a right to feel uncomfortable because of the history of the voting process. So I don't want you to take it personal because it's really not against you. It really isn't. It's not against you. It's not against you, Mr.
I don't take it personal.
Well, see, and I say that because we had a public hearing, and then we limited participation to 30 minutes. That stokes the fear that something is going on here, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. I've been a trial attorney for 30 years. I read the room. That's what I do. I feel the energy shift because it goes from, is this really a public forum where people can express their concerns, or is this something that maybe some other party is pushing? Is there an agenda behind this that we need to be careful what's going on, and we need to watch this very closely? See, that's the energy shift that was in the room.
Can I speak to that? Mr. Wimbish, can I speak to that? I take full responsibility for that being set up. We were advised to see, this was the very first time for us. We had never done this before. So we were advised to see how, say, like Planning and Zoning did theirs, other boards did theirs, and that's what I did. And we actually went above. At least I asked and submitted. In conversation, it came up to go above. And so I said, that's fine with me. Let's do that. And we did. So, but as far as the board coming in, one board member saying, nope, 30 minutes, that's it. No. As elections director, I take that responsibility that I was advised to try to figure it out, and that's what I tried to do, and I tried to be fair.
And that's why I wanted to put this on the table, Kim, because you know, you're right. Your tenure in the Board of Election office, you know, regardless of how it began, it has become a very positive outcome. This Board of Elections operates in a manner that is, we get along really well despite our partisan differences. You know, we really do. We get along really well. I mean, the 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 culture of this board is totally different than what it was 5 years ago. And a lot of it was because of Kim's willingness to accept we're going to have to put some stuff out front. We're going to have to be transparent. Because the more transparent you are, the more willing the public is to believe that what you're doing is in their best interest. And so as a board, we have to be real careful not to push that needle one way or the other and stick to that transparency so we don't have a meeting where there's a shift in the energy because it's moving away from this is a public hearing to what it this is just a rubber stamp process. Because honestly, when I came in today, and I still don't know how I'm going to vote. I still don't know because I believe in consolidation. I think it's a good thing. But I also understand that I serve a constituency, and they have to make sure that they feel like what's being done is entirely above board.
I just would like to add, because something you said made me think, not necessarily that, but backtracking just a little bit as far as when we used to have to submit, because I remember those days when we had to submit to that department, that I went above. I didn't have to call a reapportionment with the state, but I did. I reached out to them. I sent Jenna Wright. She's been there for years and years. That's where city commission, county commission, commissioners, they go and they sit down when lines are being drawn because they have to look out for all of these different things. So I ran all those maps to Miss Wright, and she didn't see anything that looked out of the way. I do want to add that I've never seen, or in my research with counties and how they do, because I started to put that together. Hey, look, this county does this. It's all across the board. You have some that have way less than we do. Butts County has one voting location for election day, but you have some counties that have more than we do. So it was really it's just really scattered. Just wanted to add that in there, but I did want you all to know as a board and the public to know that I did go that extra mile because I wanted someone else that has seen maps and has to look out for certain things that are not necessarily my expertise. And we had in full approval on that. So, or that things looked good. I don't know if I should say approval because that's not their official job now, but yeah.
That's sure you got. Okay. Did anybody else have any questions for Kim?
Yes. Kim, looking at the numbers,
Yes, sir.
this consolidation looks like it would result in less than 1,000 people voting at each precinct on election day on the presidential election year.
Oh, you mean if we looked at spreading that out now?
No, if we looked at your new precincts, and I was looking at the numbers,
Based off of the
numbers you gave us, it
Off
looks
of
like
registered voters?
Oh, it's 8,000.
Chart here of how many
8,000 people voted.
Oh, okay, gotcha
How many
now.
people
Sorry,
voted at each
sorry.
precinct?
Okay, all
It
right.
looked like no precinct would rise to 1,000 voters per day on election day.
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, very worst. And you said that early voting averaged 1,400. So I see no problem with 900 or 800 people then in a single polling place on election day if we can do 1,400 in a single polling place.
And just remember, that was an average. I think our highest, Kelly, was 19. It was 19 something. We actually did 2,000, or right at 2,000, excuse me. But the 1,400 number was the average out of all those 16 days.
The reason I say that is because in 2020, when I came here to vote, I waited in line, I think it was 3 hours. What's the longest wait we had in line last year? Was it 30 minutes
Again, with the
maybe?
exception of first thing in the morning,
Yeah,
if
well,
people really got there early,
yeah, when
but
people
the
line up.
average, no more than 3 minutes.
No more than 3, okay. So we've had a vast improvement over the last board and the last election supervisor, partly because of processes, partly because of improving the locations. So we've gone a long way toward keeping the weight down. And I think that all of our efforts will be directed towards maintaining that. If we consolidate or we don't. Yes.
Chris, any questions for Kim before we move on? Okay, yep, I don't have anything. Kim, thank you so much for, not just tonight, all your presentations. Very good job. So thank you.
Can I add to that?
Please.
It was, I heard earlier, or I heard a good bit and have heard a good bit, why now? 2026. We know there's a lot of political information out there about what may, this, that, or the other. This was presented to the board last year. This has been presented to the board 4 months ago. It could have been already voted on and implemented. But then, Mr. Howell, he wanted to have, which was fine with me, public comment. We didn't do that when we consolidated 9 and 17, and we didn't do that when we made any of the other changes. Great to do it now. Great to hear the people's voice. I'm just reminding you that this was submitted to you all last year.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, next up, old business, would be the consideration of the proposed precinct consolidation request by the elections director. So, before we discuss, we need a motion.
Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
Motion and a second. So, all right, so discussion. I don't know if anybody wants to go in order or anybody has a burning desire to speak.
I have something that I want to
Okay.
speak about just for a minute
Go
here.
for it.
Let me get to the right map. If we turn to the new county map, my greatest concern is the new precinct 7.
That's the west side, right?
Because it spans, measuring with a chocolate bar, it spans approximately 40% of the width of the county. And far and away the longest drive at 14 miles. Precinct, this one here.
Yeah, precinct
Now,
8.
make sure you're looking at
Well,
Brother.
this says proposed number 7 on here.
Oh, I'm looking at the map, it's the big one that's folded in the thing, it says precinct 8.
Make sure to speak into your microphones, board members, please. Make sure to speak into your microphones.
At the end.
It's folded up in front of the book here, and it's just a big one, I thought it was the same map.
Well,
But
that's an
mine says
old one.
8 and yours says 7.
Well, this is.
Have you changed the numbers, Ken?
I don't, you have the presentation in front, it was in your left side pocket?
Yeah.
Or, yes.
I got the big map, 'cause I'm hard of seeing, so I wanted to get the big map
You
so I
have-
can see it better.
Okay,
Well, this
let's,
purple one down here that it says 7 on the presentation.
Okay, whatever.
My main concern about this entire thing is how wide that is. On the other hand, I balance that with, I've driven to Brooks before, and it's rural until you get to Brooks. And when you live in a rural area, you can't expect to have a precinct every block, because there are no blocks.
oh, he's talking. So just to be clear, I want to help out here.
Yes.
You are looking at the proposed where the number would
Looking at the
change to
proposed county
7,
one.
and that means the consolidation of 12,
Yes.
10,
Yes.
and a partial of 8.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what is being spoken of, Mr. Howell.
That is a largely rural
Yes.
district.
And
What can you do when everybody lives on 50 acres, you know?
No, we were actually looking at this, and there is a lot of just, it sort of splits the precinct a little bit on out, where there's a lot of agricultural land out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Not that I care to air.
Okay. Chris, you haven't spoken tonight, I don't think.
No, I think, Kim, you did a great job. I appreciate it. And I just have no questions because I feel like the presentation was, clear.
Dexter, Lee, anything else?
Following up on his, the only question I would have about the map, and I'm sure this is because of where you got, who would be precincts for you. But even these long districts, like 7 and over here in 8 on the other side, your precincts are right next to City of Griffin. So these rural areas are the ones that are gonna have to drive so far to get into the precinct to vote. I mean, was there just no place more central located in those 2 districts to be a precinct than First Presbyterian in 8 and Oak Hill in 7?
Okay, so let's look at the left side of the map first. In 7, proposed 7, to answer your question, in what is now currently 12, there's nothing.
Okay.
I've already done that research. When I found Fairview, that's off. You need to do my laptop to bring it back up. Like, yeah. But anyway, so back to your question, or your comment. So 8, over in 8, and so anyway, we found Oak Hill when we moved 10, right? So Oak Hill is an outstanding polling location. Very large room, the accessibility. So that's
Well,
why I
I'm not
want to.
questioning, I'm just asking,
No,
was there a location that would be more central to those big, long precincts?
Not that we have found. We haven't found anything on that side. No. Now, to answer your question, honestly, on 8, combining 20 and 8, well, yep, we did the research out there. 20 is very rural. And that's where the fire station, where that polling precinct is now. And so there's just not really anything. I've even had a couple of poll officers that have looked out there that work at that precinct, and there's just not anything right now. And so we already have a really good precinct in First Presbyterian Church. Again, easy access right off a main road, easy access into the building, large room. And I just didn't want to, I wanted to keep it there. But no, there wasn't out there in that portion.
The only comment I have on this whole thing, and the reason I'm uncomfortable with this thing, is a lot of it's based on the fact we have so much advanced. So the reason I'm uncomfortable with this proposal is because a lot of the information, or the backup that you've given us, is based on the number of people who do advanced voting, or who vote by mail. Well, unfortunately, there are strong feelings in the legislative body that sets the rules that they're going to reduce even further advanced voting, if not eliminate it. If President Trump had his way, he'd eliminate by mail voting totally. So we're cutting down the number of precincts and changing our whole structure based on some assumptions that may not be there if the powers that be have their way to eliminate advanced voting and voting by mail and excuseless, as we should say, excuseless absentee voting, or absentee voting for no reason. You know, and that just makes me uncomfortable that while we're basing our whole assumptions to cut down based on something that may not be there if the powers that be have their way. And they've all said they want to eliminate these things that we're basing our assumptions on.
If I think James has a response.
Can I ask our attorney a question?
Yes, sir.
Isn't voting based on state law and not federal law?
The voting requirements, yes, so for local elections as well as just for the general elections as a whole, but based upon the state law voting requirements, yes. So that's set by the legislature.
So what I'm saying is,
Hello?
I don't,
Hear me now? It's set by the state legislature, state law.
so whatever the federal government says, unless Congress passes a law, they can't interfere with our voting.
No, but the state legislature could change it and eliminate advanced voting. Yes, the state legislature, and that's what I said. There are proposals in the state legislature to alter advanced voting. And that's why it makes me uncomfortable to cut down the number of precincts based on we have all this advanced voting when, and I was talking, and I don't like to call names, but I was talking to Speaker Burns last summer. And he very honestly said, yeah, we want let me cut back the number of advanced voting days. And they've already cut them back one time.
I'm just gonna, I just want to comment. No one has a crystal ball. And yes, have I even heard certain things floating out there? Nothing that's legitimate or anything like that. But if I thought that that was really going to happen, I would not go through proposing this to you all. Do I know? None of us know. But again, that doesn't matter what administration we're under, honestly. Anything can always change. So, what I think we do, we look at what we have and we do the best. And then, if something happens, we do different to service our voters. And we can make those decisions.
If we can reduce the number of polling places, we can increase it.
Sir.
So y'all were making my points that I was going to wrap up with, but Dexter, do you have anything else?
I'm not uncomfortable with consolidation. I'm uncomfortable with the breadth of the consolidation. And I would ask the question, is there an alternative where consolidation is phased in rather than just an overnight consolidation that might cause a lot of discomfort for a lot of people?
That's really up to you, the board. Could phasing have been a possibility? Sure, it could have been. I like to look at something and go ahead and resolve whatever can be resolved and do it and get it done. Again, that's to you, the board. Y'all have to make that
And
decision.
so if we were to entertain a phased-in consolidation, what, if you were to rank the precincts being consolidated, which ones would be more critical? If we said we only need to consolidate 2 this year.
Dexter, so we don't spend a whole lot of time on a hypothetical. We've got a motion on the floor to approve.
But I thought this was discussion.
It is, but I can see this would take quite a bit of time to go through a hypothetical of what could be an alternate. What would be,
Mr.
if
Chairman,
this
with
fell.
all due respect, you're asking me to vote.
Go for it. Go for it.
And so I'm not gonna vote without examining all of the options. I mean, that's just, I would be derelict of my duty not to ask the question.
I definitely wouldn't ask you to be derelict in your duty, sir.
Right, and I don't think this many people will turn out for something this important and then stress over an extended conversation about something that's gonna impact us in a way that this vote is. But I mean, I'll give it back to you because you just made my vote a whole lot easier. So
Fair enough. So I mean, I guess my thing is, the whole concept of early voting. That's basically the entire reason that we're even here talking about this. If 50-ish%, plus or minus, weren't choosing to drive further and honestly inconvenience themselves more. As if anybody has voted recently on election day, I can go in on election day and vote within about 30 seconds. And whether that was me driving 10 extra miles or 20 extra miles, that would actually save me time versus early voting. But people still choose to go out and early vote, which is fine. I have no problem at all with that. Making decisions based off of what could happen in the future, I kind of have problems with that. We really, as Kim made the point, we really need to deal with what what the reality is of the now. I would fully expect if early voting were to be taken away, that we would absolutely have to increase the precincts, the polling locations again, and based off of our ability to decrease, if we go through with this, we should be very readily able to flex up and increase just as easily as we decrease. And I mean, I think speaking to the competence and the ability of the election office and, you know, our election supervisor, our election director to be able to, you know, do their jobs. So, and I guess, you know, going to the hypothetical of, you know, okay, well, you know, Butts County only has one polling location. So Dexter, there's the dream right there already, but that's the way I believe that has always been. I think. I don't know the full history either. And then, you know, expanding early voting. I would argue that's a slippery slope because, you know, you take it to 30 days. Why not take it to 90? Why not take it to a full year? Why not we just have voting in real time where our minds are read, and as people's opinions change, then our politicians get swapped out. So, I mean, that's kind of where that argument to me leads. So with that, unless anybody has anything else, any further comments? Anybody want to call the question?
Call the question.
Lee, call the question. All right. All in favor of approving the proposed precinct consolidation request by the elections director? 3. All opposed? 1 abstain. Did you vote no or abstain?
I'll vote no.
You vote? You don't have to.
I don't like people who abstain.
I've heard.
I'm comfortable voting yes.
I've heard
I'll
you say
vote
that. Okay. All right. So we got Lee and Dexter no. Everybody else yes. The motion passes. All right. With that, we have no new business. Board member comments. Chris, do you have anything?
No, just thanks for the public to show up, and then thanks, Kim, for a great job on the presentation.
Thank you.
Here again.
We gotta keep, wait, no, we're not adjourned. We're not,
We'll let them clear.
we're not adjourned.
If everybody could step out before having your discussions, please leave peaceably. If you're leaving, you're more than welcome to stay through the rest of the meeting. We'd really appreciate that. All right.
If they're leaving, they'd want to hear what I'm going to say.
I figured, you know, you're saving the best for
I
last.
want to hear what you got to say. And I'm being serious when I say that.
I understand.
Dexter, what you got?
I was waiting till you.
No, you waiting on everybody? Okay, fair enough. They kind of quieted down, but. All right. It's incredibly difficult to pay attention to enforcing decorum while actually paying attention to Kim and everybody else. So, fun job.
You'd almost think the meeting was over.
You know?
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good now. You satisfied?
I just wanted to say, I just wanted to thank the staff. I've been in this for a while now, and I really appreciate, and Kim,
Will you speak in the
Oh, I'm
mic?
sorry. Just, I think one of the things that in the future you can do is like when you had the conversation after the question was raised and you talked about the great lengths you went to determine how this should be done and why it's being done and who you talk to. If you can put that in your report, so it shows that it's not just simply what you think, it's what you did to come to that conclusion. I really appreciated hearing the people that you talked to, and how that went into your proposal. And like I said, I didn't vote against the proposal because I don't believe in it. I voted against it simply because of the timeline. I just think it's gonna cause a lot of, and hopefully I'm wrong, but I really do appreciate the fact of your transparency and the lengths you went to be able to answer those questions. I really do, and I appreciate the staff because, you know, we're leadership, and it's clear that your leadership is impacting your staff and their desire to support you in what you're doing. And the comment I made was because I I know you personally don't participate in voter suppression, but because I've been on the other side of the fence and I know how that activist brain, how we process information, I just wanted to make sure that you were saying what you were saying. And I heard what you said, but most people did not hear what I heard. They heard you don't believe voter suppression exists. I heard my staff and I go above and beyond to make sure that we don't have voter suppression. And those are two totally different things. And I just really appreciate the fact that you did what you did. And I didn't want that to go unknown.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Lee, you're up, sir.
This whole thing has reminded me of a comment. The whole feeling about this proposal and everything has reminded me of a comment I had when I was in the days of a reporter and I was covering the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta. And I fell into a conversation with Jesse Jackson. And somebody had told him that I was friends with Newt Gingrich and had formerly worked for him. And Jesse said, well, tell me, son, tell me something about Newt. And I said, well, for starters, he's not a racist. He's a conservative, but he's not a racist. He's from Pennsylvania. He's grew up in a military family. And Jesse Jackson said, it don't matter. He says, it don't matter, because if his meaning of his words are racist, and his actions are racist, and his votes are racist, they might as well be a racist. Well, I personally don't think you're trying to suppress the vote. And I personally don't think you have any intention of doing that. But in this heated atmosphere we're in right now, where we've got Texas creating new precincts and correctional districts, and California creating new correctional districts, and President Trump saying, "Oh, wipe out advance voting and no voting by mail," then to come up with a plan that reduces the number of precincts in Spalding County makes it look like you're suppressing the vote, even though I know you're not. And that's why I was uncomfortable with this whole proposal now. I'm with Dexter. I go along with cutting down the number of precincts and saving money. But I'm not sure that now is the time we should have done it. And that's why I'm uncomfortable with this proposal, because I personally, I've known you for years, and I don't think you have a racist bone in your body. And I don't think you're trying to suppress anybody's vote. And I think you did a great job.
I appreciate that.
And I think Mr. Chairman did a pretty good job. Except you should have used that gavel a little bit more.
Well, I came here tonight with some concerns, and I wasn't sure which way I was going to vote, kind of like Dexter. And what convinced me to vote for it, of course, Kim's excellent presentation was part of it, but it was what the people who were against it said. That's what convinced me to vote for it. You know, like you said, we all have different ways of looking at things, and nothing irritates me more than people assuming that I want to suppress their vote. I'm part Cherokee. If you want to see voter suppression, you have the Army come in and move you to Oklahoma. My family had that happen. And when people call me a racist, well, you know, maybe us Native Americans like you all to go home, but you're not going to. You're not going to, so we've got to live with you, right? And we all have to live with each other. And we all have to put up with each other's foibles. But when people en masse start throwing accusations against somebody that have very, very little merit, it works on my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I have no real follow up for that. So Kim, great job on putting everything together. Thanks everybody else in the office. Appreciate everybody in Spalding County that works on elections. Appreciate the board. Appreciate everybody's comments tonight for sure. I agree with a lot of folks that probably think that I don't agree with them a whole lot more than they think. So you know, I guess in my mind, it kind of solidified to me that, you know, maybe this is us doing a partial at this point. Maybe this is us moving slower, despite the way that it looks. I mean, Dexter, your you know, theorization or whatever, like, you know, that may be where things go. And I wasn't being completely facetious with my slippery slope thing. The mind reading part maybe, but you know, that may be ultimately, you know, where things actually are heading. You know, regardless of the geopolitical, you know, movements or whatnot. And so yeah. Anyway,
Can I say one more thing?
you know, I don't want to be accused of anything. So
Okay. I'm a big states' rights person. I think the federal government has usurped a lot of rights that the Constitution specifically gives to the states. And that's why I say that voting should be controlled by the state, because that's what the Constitution says. And I don't care if it's a presidential vote or if we're voting for the dog catcher. It should be controlled by the state, not by the federal government.
I would agree with that as well. Okay. I don't have anything else. Y'all did a great job. I appreciate everybody here that stuck it out and actually stayed in your seats. And thank y'all very, very much. And appreciate everybody else for coming out that had to leave suddenly. So appreciate all them coming out too. So hope they would come out even more.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just say real quick, and I should have said it before, I would like to say publicly thank you to an excellent staff who this was just not something I brought all on my own. Yes, I headed it up, but they were always ready to dig in to reports or anything of that matter and pull information that was needed to bring this together tonight. So I just want to say publicly thank you to each and every one of them, because we just have a great team.
Very good. I would agree with that. All right. Motion to adjourn. Anyone? Dexter.
I second.
Jim second. All in favor? All right. We're out of here. 8:15.